Hello,
Hey,
everybody.
guys.
Hi, and welcome to the Red Web. I'm your host, Brad West. We're talking superheroes today. This is our 2021 Back to School Summer Review. Most of this week we talked about Marvel properties. Today we're going to get veer off a little bit and talk about an independent. Well, I guess not independent.
We ran out of stuff.
We
Sorry.
ran out of stuff.
We didn't run out of stuff. We just wanted to include it.
We just want to include it in the mix. So anyway, joining me, of course, are my co-host, Mr. Gregory Burrow, on loan from Dragons Are Comic and Fantasy. Make sure you check them out, and make sure you check out on Saturday the 14th, not only Austin Gay Pride, but Free Comic Book Day. Go to your local comic book shops, check any of them out online. They're probably going to have something going on. We're going to be following up with a couple of our affiliates, as well as Dragon's Lair is going to be doing a drive-through comic book, so you don't have to worry about the heat or the COVID or anything like that. Also, Miss Anastasia Anderson is going to be helping us today with some of our stuff. She didn't have as much to talk about with the comics before.
No, I'm sorry, guys.
We are going to be working on a Patreon so you can help feed our comic book support, our habit, so we can read more of these comic books and give you more personal and not just a report, but as in-depth
Right? Do you want me to read these, please?
Yeah, and please, if you have questions about any comics or any storylines or anything like that, especially like all the way back through, whenever, just give us feedback. Let us know what you want to see, what you want to hear about. That would be great.
Yes.
As always, if there's something you want to know about in the world of superheroes, and
or you want us to talk about,
and you want us to talk about it, and you don't want to go through that Wikipedia rabbit hole, we will take that bullet for you. Just speak up.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God.
So today we're going to talk about Jupiter's Legacy. Netflix
because it's really
show.
big on Netflix.
It
right?
was,
It did
it
okay.
was and it wasn't. It was actually kind of. I got mixed things to say about this.
It got watched, but it was another one of those where they were like, haha, we're definitely doing a second season, and they were like, psych.
I know several of my
Never
friends were
mind.
really upset about that. They really want a second season.
I want closure. I think what the problem was is that they started developing it before they really. You know how companies try to second guess each other. The big pratfall about this, I'm going to just give you the lowdown. Watch it. It's good. I enjoy it. There's no closure. If you hate that kind of thing, don't watch it, but it's okay. But basically, when they were trying to create this thing, they more or less, Netflix bought the Millerverse catalog of characters with the intention of creating their own universe so that they can compete with
Everything.
Disney's properties, the
Marvelverse and the
Marvelverse
DC universe.
Or CW.
and the CW. So they wanted their own stable of things to go into, and good for them. They went big. They committed to this point.
Yeah.
But the problem was they didn't understand that the Disney ones were going to be more or less limited series and not intended to go on. Had they created this as a limited series and given it some closure, I think it would have been just fine. I don't think anybody would have any problem with it. It was a good show. I enjoyed.
Yeah.
There were so many aspects of it. There was so much freshness.
There were things
to
I
it.
liked.
And they really did kind of dip into some of the cliches, but they gave us some refreshment to it.
But they did the thing, which I had to figure out afterwards because I was like, this doesn't feel finished, is that the entire story of Jupiter's Legacy, it's cut in half.
Mm-hmm.
So just like some of the other ones we've had issues with, instead of making the whole thing, the whole story from start to finish, they said, we're going to do the first half, and then if you like it, we're going to do the second half. And this is one of those stories that I have been told is better in the second half.
Yeah.
And we literally cut it off right at the good part.
Exactly. Right when it was getting good. I mean, I was more up until the end of it. I'm like, okay, standard superhero fare. They're making it dark and edgy for the modern audience. Blah blah blah. I'm okay with that.
If you've seen
it's
any
not
of those,
the boys. It's not the boys, but it's still kind of gritty. It was the flashbacks. It was the flashbacks I was invested in.
Those were real good.
Those were really good.
Those
the
were real
cinematography was
good.
great. The costuming, I had never.
A+.
They did an amazing job of interpreting the costuming from what it was in the comic book and making it into this world. I mean, the details were great. I loved it. I love Josh Duhamel's like Santa Claus, Superman kind of thing going.
It sold it. That was the part that sold it for me. And it's like I like the cinematography on this because if you read the actual Jupiter's Legacy books, it's kind of, the art is kind of uggo.
Mhm.
It's a very unique
Well, I
art
don't
style.
I've complained about it before, and I don't like Frank Quietly's work. I don't like Frank Quietly. I don't like it.
Like, and I don't say uggo is like a very mean thing, but
It
it's
was
a
very stylized. They're made to look kind of like. For those of you not familiar, or maybe you haven't read Jupiter's Legacy, you might have read the new X-Men back in the day, where he made the Beast into a cat, and they had the weird life preserver uniforms. He's got a very specific style, lots of cross hatching, and it ages the characters. The cross hatching makes it looks wrinkly.
And it was and the cinematography is very bright. It's very colorful. The people look very lively. And things fit where they're supposed to. And it's like there's a plot A that is basically talking about the kids. And if you've seen anything where they're like, haha, we're going to deal with the children, the traumatized children of these superheroes, you've seen this story before. But what sells it is the B plot, which is them going back in time and trying to figure out
how they got the powers and where it happened. Yeah,
that was genuinely good.
That was really cool. And
I was more invested in that.
I gotta tell you, and the really unique thing about this is, I'm going to throw this out here, is because in the real world, as we talk about, if you watched our episode, we talk about Golden Age, Silver Age. I think that's coming up later.
Yes,
comic books started really at the end of the 30s. Superman was at the end of the 30s, and Batman, and we didn't really start getting what we consider the golden age of superheroes until like the 40s, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
So superheroes as a concept wasn't even around in the 20s. However, Jupiter's Legacy actually backs the clock up a little bit, kind of like how Wonder Woman took it from World War II back to World War I. Jupiter's Legacy starts at the beginning of the Great Depression.
Yeah.
And
yes, the first thing is literally the stock market crash.
And the stock market crashes, and it very much ties in the sense of what superheroes are, what morality is, to this idea of, and it does a much better job, I think, than some other stories about, if you have power, should you use it? How should you use it? Where do you draw the line between lifting people up and saving them and becoming not dictator, but tyrant?
Fascist.
It's
like, well, and that's kind of the problem with them chopping this in half, and unfortunately the second half is not going
and you don't
through,
get the answer.
Is that, they set up a lot of stuff that if you looked at it just in a bubble separate from the rest of the story, it gets kind of unnerving. Mm-hmm. Like, because the big morality thing is what responsibilities do you have when you have powers, and the inciting incident is the son murdering one of the villains that they fight. And so what they start doing is the villains start escalating and start murdering people a lot more frequently. And the whole point is to get them to question the code enough that they turn against the Utopian, who is the Superman stand-in.
Yeah.
It's like, and so they'll do things where good people or normal people are like, wait, why aren't you killing these people? Like, they literally have a moment where a policeman walks up to them at the funeral of one of the characters and says,
"Would you like
all of the?" Yeah, no, he literally says all of these criminals should be like gathered up and shot.
Yeah.
It's like, and he has those moments, and the problem is they kind of frame it vaguely just to be like, oh, we don't know what the real answer is. And they sort of show that the Utopian is concerned that this seems to be happening, but we don't get the follow through of this being a yes, the murdering is the right thing to do, or no, this is going way too far. And the second half of the story is they're going way too far.
And I enjoyed what I saw. I would have liked to have seen it. Yeah, I would have really liked it. Their big mistake, and I think that they hopefully maybe other platforms will learn from it. I think the reason that it's important to talk about this is because of its place in the superhero genre development in our media platforms right now.
Yeah. Loki can cut it in half because they're short. They know
they're short.
that
They're short.
as much as we complain, by the time the season 2 of the Loki show comes out, we're gonna watch it.
Yeah.
It's like, we can't promise that with Jupiter's Legacy. That's kind of the risk with what they just did.
Was what they just did. Now, I am going to throw out this part of it with the other of the Millerverse properties. One of them is Super Crooks, which it has been revealed, confirmed, they are going to be creating a Super Crooks series to follow up with it. Whether or not it has any of the same characters remains to be seen. Super Crooks is another one of the Millerverse, and again, Jupiter's Legacy is the main story, which they were trying to create this extended universe. And Super Crooks is basically like if you're familiar with the concept of a super band, you know, the lead singer from this famous rock group and then the lead guitarist from this famous rock group, et cetera, pulled together to create a super band. Super Crooks is kind of that thing. It's like you got like the best thief from this team and then the best, you know, assassin and the best whatever. So all of the villains get together. That it's like the best of the best, and each of them has their discipline, and they come together and they create this perfect, you know, and many of these.
So it's like the Powerpuff Girls Beat Alls episode.
Something like that.
Okay.
Very much like that. But many of these, if not all of them, I don't know for sure. I haven't read them. But many of these villains are villains from Jupiter's Legacy and interact with these heroes. So there is a possibility that they may maybe tie some of this up in the Super Crooks show. They have that option. Or I don't know how they would make it happen, but at the very least, there is the possibility that these characters may return. I do honestly, you gotta love Josh Duhamel though when he posted after they canceled it, and he's got pictures of himself like shirtless, and he's like, "I went through this to get canceled after one season."
Right? They tried.
He's like, "Look at me." It's just like, why?
I'm a monster. Just.
Yes. So anyway, I enjoyed it. Unfortunately, if it had an ending, I would say I'd watch it again.
Well, and honestly, the ending half of that, it's like depending on what they decide to do, they literally could have made that like a 2-parter type episode.
Something. I mean, even if they would have been like, you know, let's come back with a closing movie special or something.
Something.
Closure,
like
you guys. Seriously, this is dumb. You've wasted money. And if you would have had closure, it would be rewatchable. You could remarket your package. Now it's going to be at the end of a list that nobody's ever going to go back to.
Yeah, it's like, and the other problem is elephant in the room. It's like the plot. It's such a freaking bummer.
Yeah,
it's such a bummer.
Like, but I liked it. It was good. I was invested. I was genuinely invested. It was a lot darker and deeper, and there were some genuinely disturbing parts where it's like I'm like, oh.
Yeah, like I mean, when you contrast it with the other stuff we talked about earlier this week, it's like it's like these are things that can get depressing, but in the end, like they swing up. It's more hopeful. But Jupiter's Legacy is a bummer from start to finish.
It is, but it also has the beauty of being a less recognized property.
Yeah.
Which is something that unfortunately, like the Marvel and DC stuff has. It's like I understand why they keep tweaking it and whatever, but this is something that I've never read the comic book.
Nope, me neither.
No, that's not true. I've read an issue of Jupiter's Legacy. I've read an issue of
this is something I'm willing to probably buy the comic book.
British comic books are Mark Miller or not Mark Miller. Is it Mark Miller? Yeah, Mark Miller. It's Mark Miller. Mark Miller is British, and so his comic books are released. Things are released differently in Britain than they are in the States. You don't have. Anthologies are really the way to go. That people get magazines, and they're going to get like 5 or 6 comic books at once in a single issue because that's how they produce them. Mm-hmm. And we used to get the Clint magazine with the British stuff in it, and that's how I read some of the Mark Miller stuff. And I've actually had a chance to go through and see a couple. I've seen a couple of them, and I'm like, eh. Of the two, I would have told you. Of the two, if you'd asked me beforehand, I would have told you that Super Crooks actually was more entertaining as a comic book than Jupiter's Legacy.
Right. But I mean, there's a lot of hard bits in it. Like, you get to watch somebody nearly die from an overdose.
But the big thing about Jupiter's Legacy I really found entertaining was it was genuinely a mystery. It was genuinely something like for the first time. I literally sat back and go,
I was interested.
I'm like, I'm not to be conceited or any more than normal, but I'm like, I genuinely have no idea where this is going. Like, I got a clue.
I didn't know.
I got a clue. I'm not even forming theories at this point. I'm like, I don't know what's gonna
Right.
happen, and I'm
And
into
I'll
it.
admit, it's like, because they get to the payoff with the superheroes, with it, or with the older characters becoming the superheroes. I got chills.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
Like that
It was
moment.
good.
So that's going to be it for this episode.
That's it for this episode.
Yeah.
And
We
you
did
guys
it.
take care, and thank you for joining us this week. And remember, Free Comic Book Day is tomorrow, Saturday, August 14th.
Like, subscribe, share, and watch. Go to Brad's Red Web to see older episodes and catch announcements for future stuff coming up.
That's great.
And you can follow us on YouTube, Casualized Media, Facebook, etc., etc.
All right.
Take care, guys. Have fun, and check us
Bye.
next week.